My parents uninvited my wife to Christmas to make room for my sister's boyfriend of 2 weeks, so I ended the mortgage payments and watched them celebrating while the house was only days away from foreclosure. I'm 34 male, a civil engineer who designs water treatment systems for municipalities across the Midwest. Not glamorous work, but steady income and actual job security. Most days involve reviewing blueprints, calculating flow rates, and making sure small towns have clean drinking water. The kind of work nobody thinks about until something goes wrong. My wife Hannah, 32 female, is a pediatric nurse who works 12-hour shifts and comes home exhausted but never complains. We've been married for 8 years together for 11. She's the kind of person who remembers everyone's birthday, bakes cookies for new neighbors, and volunteers at the animal shelter on her days off. When we first started dating, she showed up to meet my parents with a homemade pie and asked thoughtful questions about their lives. My mom later told me Hannah was sweet, but in that tone that suggested sweet meant boring. Hannah grew up in a working-class family in Oregon. Her dad drove long-haul trucks before he passed away from a heart attack when she was 25. Her mom still works retail management at a department store, pulling 50-hour weeks at 62 years old because retirement isn't really an option on her income. Hannah sends her mom money every month, never complains about it, just quietly helps because that's what family does in her world. From day one, Hannah tried with my family. She'd call my mom just to chat, send care packages with my dad's favorite snacks, remember to ask about Brianna's latest job drama. She drove 6 hours each way for my grandmother's funeral, even though she'd only met her twice. She sat through countless family dinners where the conversation revolved entirely around Brianna's life, while Hannah's accomplishments at work went unmentioned. Never once complained, never asked for recognition, just kept showing up and being kind. My younger sister, Brianna, 29 female, is basically the opposite. Works in sales at a luxury car dealership, changes boyfriends, like people change seasonal wardrobes, and treats relationships like test drives. Nothing wrong with being single and dating around, but she acts like every new guy is her soulmate until the next one shows up 3 months later. The pattern with Brianna's relationships was predictable. She'd meet someone, decide within a week he was the one, introduce him to the family with great fanfare, and my parents would immediately start planning the wedding. 3 months later, she'd discover some fatal flaw. He didn't make enough money. He wasn't ambitious enough. He wanted kids too soon. He didn't want kids at all. And the relationship would implode. Then came the tearful family dinners where we'd all have to comfort her and validate that she'd made the right choice, leaving another perfectly decent guy. My parents retired to a small town in Missouri about 5 years ago. Dad worked for the Postal Service for 30 years. Mom was an elementary school secretary. They bought this cute 3-bedroom house on 2 acres with their retirement savings. Problem is, property taxes in their county are higher than they anticipated, and their fixed income doesn't stretch as far as they thought it would. That's where I come in, or came in, I should say. 3 years ago, Dad called me sounding stressed. They were behind on property taxes, about $8,000 in arrears. The county had sent warnings, and they were facing penalties and potential liens. He didn't want to ask, but could I help them out? Just this once, until they got their finances sorted. The way he presented it made it sound temporary, like they'd hit an unexpected bump, but would bounce back quickly. He explained they'd underestimated their property taxes when they bought the house, had some unexpected expenses with the move, and just needed help getting caught up this one time. After that, they'd have it under control. I discussed it with Hannah. She didn't hesitate. They're your parents. If we can help, we should help. So I paid it. $8,000 from our savings, which we'd been building for a down payment on a bigger house. We figured family comes first, and they'd appreciate the gesture. Hannah had been setting aside money from every paycheck, dreaming about a house with a real yard and maybe an extra bedroom for when her mom visited. We'd been looking at listings, imagining which neighborhood we wanted to settle in. That $8,000 set us back about a year on our timeline, but we told ourselves it was worth it to help family, except it wasn't just once. 6 months later, Dad called again. They'd fallen behind again, about $4,000 this time. Different story, though. Unexpected medical bills from Mom's knee surgery. The surgery had been necessary. Insurance had covered most of it. But the copays and physical therapy added up. I paid it. Then it became a pattern. Every year, like clockwork, I'd get the call about property taxes. The amount varied. Sometimes $3,000, sometimes $6,000, but it was always the same story. Fixed income, unexpected expenses, just need a little help. Each time Dad would sound stressed and apologetic. Each time he'd promise this was absolutely the last time. Each time I'd transfer the money and watch our house fund shrink. The excuses evolved over time. First year was the move and adjustment. Second year was Mom's knee surgery and some house repairs. Third year was their car breaking down and needing replacement. Plus, the property taxes had increased. Always something urgent. Always something that couldn't wait. Always something that somehow only I could solve. Over 3 years, I paid roughly $42,000 in property taxes for a house I don't own and will never inherit. Hannah never complained once, even though it meant we were still renting our small 2-bedroom apartment instead of buying our own place. Our landlord kept raising rent, and we kept staying because we couldn't save enough for a down payment when we were funding my parents' retirement. Here's what really bothered me, though. They never said thank you. Not really. It was always just, "We appreciate you helping out." Followed immediately by some comment about how we probably wouldn't understand financial stress since we don't have kids and our expenses are so much lower. The lack of gratitude ate at me more than the money itself. When you give someone $8,000, you expect at least some acknowledgement of the sacrifice involved. Instead, my parents treated it like I was just fulfilling a basic family obligation, like showing up for Thanksgiving or sending a birthday card. I remember one conversation where I mentioned to my mom that the property tax payments were affecting our ability to save for a house. She actually said, "Well, you're young. You have plenty of time to buy a house. We're on a fixed income and don't have that luxury." Like my financial goals were somehow less valid because I was younger. Never mind that Hannah and I were working full-time jobs and trying to build our own future. Meanwhile, my sister Brianna was living her best life posting vacation photos from Cancun, Miami, and Las Vegas. New car every 2 years, designer everything. Her Instagram was a highlight reel of expensive restaurants, luxury hotels, and shopping sprees. But somehow she was never asked to chip in for Mom and Dad's property taxes. I'd see her post from some rooftop bar in Miami, drinks in hand, designer sunglasses, caption about living my best life, and then I'd get a call from Dad asking if I could help with the property taxes again. The juxtaposition was maddening. When I mentioned this once, Dad got defensive. "Your sister has her own financial obligations. She's building her career, right? Building her career one bottle service tab at a time." He explained that Brianna needed to maintain a certain image for her sales job, that entertaining clients and looking successful was part of her professional development. Meanwhile, my actual professional development and financial stability didn't seem to factor into their calculations at all. I'd also point out that Brianna made decent money at the dealership. Base salary plus commissions on luxury car sales. She wasn't struggling. She was choosing to spend her money on lifestyle instead of helping family. But that observation never landed. My parents had an endless supply of excuses for why Brianna couldn't contribute. But I could. The Christmas situation started brewing in early November. Mom called about holiday plans, asked if Hannah and I were coming. Of course we were. We came every year. We'd already requested time off work, booked a hotel nearby since their guest room was small, and Hannah had already started shopping for gifts. Wonderful. Mom said it'll be nice to have everyone together. 2 weeks later, Brianna started dating someone new. His name was Preston. From her Facebook posts, he worked in finance, drove a ridiculous sports car, and owned multiple designer suits. Classic Brianna type, looked good in photos, probably had the personality of a parking meter. She'd known him for exactly 11 days when she announced on the family group text that she was bringing Preston to Christmas. Mom immediately responded, "That's wonderful, sweetheart. We can't wait to meet him." I didn't think much of it. Their house wasn't huge, but it could accommodate a few extra people for a holiday dinner. We'd managed before when extended family visited. Then I got the phone call that changed everything. Mom called me at work, which was unusual. She had this weird, apologetic tone that immediately put me on alert. Usually when she called during business hours, it was about something urgent, someone in the hospital, a death in the family, that kind of thing. But this tone was different. This was the voice she used when she knew she was about to ask for something unreasonable. So about Christmas, she started. "We've been thinking about the space situation." "What space situation?" "Well, with Brianna bringing Preston and your aunt and uncle coming, the house is going to be quite full. We're worried about overcrowding. I still wasn't getting it. Their house had hosted bigger gatherings before. Just last Easter, they'd had 12 people for dinner, and everyone fit fine. Sure, it was cozy, but nobody minded. That's what family gatherings are supposed to be. Everyone squeezed together, making it work. Okay, so we'll squeeze in. We've done it before. Long pause. The kind of pause that tells you the other person is trying to figure out how to say something they know will go over badly. Actually, honey, we were thinking maybe this year you and Hannah could sit this one out. Just this once. Let Brianna have her moment with Preston. You understand? My brain needed a few seconds to process what I just heard. The words made sense individually, but together they formed a sentence that seemed impossible. You're uninviting us from Christmas. Not uninviting, just suggesting maybe you two could celebrate on your own this year. You're married. You have your own traditions now. Brianna really wants us to meet Preston and with limited space. Mom, your house has 3 bedrooms and a finished basement. How is there not enough space? Another pause. Well, Preston is very particular about accommodations. Brianna mentioned he's not comfortable with cramped quarters. And you know how your aunt and uncle need the main guest room because of your uncle's back problems. The excuse was paper-thin and insulting. Preston, who'd been dating my sister for 2 weeks, needed comfortable accommodations. But Hannah, who'd been part of this family for 8 years, could just stay home. The guest room that Hannah and I had stayed in for the past 7 Christmases was suddenly unavailable because a stranger might be uncomfortable. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You're asking me and my wife to skip Christmas so that Brianna's boyfriend of 2 weeks can be comfortable. Don't be dramatic. It's just one Christmas. You'll have plenty more. We come every year. We've never missed one. Hannah's family is in Oregon, so she doesn't get to see them during the holidays. Your Christmas is basically her only family Christmas. Well, maybe this year she could visit her own family then. That would work out perfectly. The casual way she dismissed Hannah like she was some interchangeable accessory made my blood pressure spike. And what about all the years we've been coming? Do those not count for anything? Of course they count. But Brianna specifically asked if Preston could come, and we want to support her relationship. You know how hard it's been for her to find someone stable? Preston had been around for 14 days. Hannah had been around for over a decade, but apparently 2 weeks with the right last name and a sports car outweighed 8 years of marriage and family integration. Does Brianna even know you're uninviting us? I asked. We discussed it as a family. Everyone agreed this was the best solution for the space issue. Everyone except Hannah and me, apparently. But we didn't get a vote. I should have argued more. Should have pointed out the absurdity, the disrespect, the sheer insanity of excluding a daughter-in-law to accommodate a stranger. But I was at work, had a meeting in 10 minutes, and needed time to process what was happening. Okay, I said. No problem. Mom sounded relieved. Oh, wonderful. I knew you'd understand. You're always so reasonable about these things. We'll miss you, but we'll make it up to you. I hung up and sat in my office staring at nothing. My phone buzzed with a text from Hannah. How's your day going? I didn't respond. Didn't know how to explain what had just happened. That night, I told her. She took it better than I expected, which somehow made it worse. It's okay, she said quietly. We can do our own thing, make our own traditions. It's not okay. You've been nothing but kind to them for 8 years. You remember their birthday, send them care packages, call to check on them, and they just uninvited you for some random guy. I know, but it's their house, their holiday. We can't force them to include me. They shouldn't need to be forced, your family. She smiled sadly. Apparently, not as much family as Preston. That night, I lay awake thinking about everything. The $42,000 I'd paid in property taxes, the countless times Hannah had bent over backward to be the perfect daughter-in-law, the years of Christmas visits, birthday cards, anniversary calls, all of it apparently worth less than 2 weeks with a guy who drove a Porsche. The next morning, I logged into my bank account and looked at the scheduled payment I had set up for my parents' property taxes. The next installment was due in January, $6,000. I canceled it. Then I called the county treasurer's office and removed my name from the automatic payment authorization. From now on, if my parents wanted their property taxes paid, they could figure it out themselves. Hannah noticed I was on the computer longer than usual. What are you doing? Just handling some financial stuff. I didn't tell her yet. Didn't want her trying to talk me out of it or feeling guilty. This wasn't about her. It was about my parents finally experiencing actual consequences for treating people like disposable props in Brianna's life story. December rolled on. I sent a polite message to the family group text. Hannah and I have decided to start our own Christmas traditions this year. Hope everyone has a great holiday. Mom responded immediately. That's the spirit. So mature of you. Brianna sent a thumbs up emoji. Dad didn't respond at all. Hannah and I spent Christmas morning opening presents in our apartment, then volunteered at a soup kitchen for a few hours. Came home, made dinner together, watched movies. It was actually nice quiet. No forced small talk with relatives I barely knew. No pretending to be interested in Brianna's latest life drama. But I was angry. The kind of deep, simmering anger that doesn't go away just because you're watching holiday movies. Around 9:00 p.m., my phone started blowing up. Photos from my parents' house. Brianna and Preston in front of the Christmas tree. Preston opening gifts. Dad carving a turkey. The whole family gathered around the table with an empty spot where Hannah and I should have been. Mom sent a message to the group. Missing you tonight, but Preston is wonderful. Such a gentleman. Preston had made it exactly 19 days with my sister. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for him to get elevated above my wife in the family hierarchy. I turned off my phone and went to bed. January came. The property tax bill was due. I didn't pay it. My phone rang 6 times that first week. I didn't answer. Finally, Dad left a voicemail. Hey, just checking in. The property tax payment didn't go through automatically like it usually does. Not sure if there's a problem with the bank or something. Give me a call when you get a chance. I didn't call back. 2 weeks later, another voicemail. The county sent us a notice saying we're past due on property taxes. I thought you were handling that. Did something happen with the automatic payment? We're getting hit with late fees here. Still didn't call back. Week 3. Dad finally figured it out. The voicemail was different this time. Angry instead of confused. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but this isn't funny. We had an agreement. You can't just stop paying without telling us. Call me back immediately. I texted him. No agreement. I was helping you out. Now I'm not. He called back within 30 seconds. I let it ring. The texts started coming. We need to talk about this like adults. Your mother is very upset. This is completely irresponsible. At least give us warning before you just abandon your commitments. That last one made me laugh. Abandoning commitments. Rich coming from people who'd uninvited us from Christmas. February brought more urgent messages. The county had added penalties, and now they owed over $7,000. They were panicking. The county didn't mess around with delinquent property taxes. Every month that passed added more penalties and interest. What started as a $6,000 bill had ballooned to over $7,000 in just 2 months, and it would keep growing until they paid, or until the county foreclosed. Missouri takes property tax collection seriously. The county treasurer's office has a specific process they follow, and they follow it precisely. First comes the friendly reminder, then the official notice, then the penalties start accruing, then the lien gets filed, then comes the notice of tax sale. Every step documented, every deadline clear. No exceptions made for sad stories about family drama or fixed incomes. My parents weren't used to dealing with government agencies that didn't care about their explanations. They were used to me someone they could guilt, manipulate, or simply outlast until I gave in. The county treasurer's office wasn't interested in any of that. Mom called from Dad's phone, probably thinking I wouldn't recognize the number. I answered. Finally, she said, "We've been trying to reach you for weeks." I know. What's going on with the property taxes? The county is threatening a tax lien. Sounds like you should pay them then. Long silence. What, your property taxes? You should probably pay them before the county puts a lien on your house. But you always pay them. I used to. Past tense. Not anymore. You can't just stop. We're counting on you. That phrase, counting on you, crystallized everything wrong with our relationship. They weren't grateful for my help. They'd come to expect it to count on it to build their entire financial plan around the assumption that I'd always bail them out. They'd never even considered what would happen if I stopped, because the possibility that I'd set a boundary had never occurred to them. Like you counted on us being at Christmas. Oh, wait. No? You uninvited us for Brianna's boyfriend. More silence then. That's what this is about. You're punishing us over a simple space issue. Space issue, right? The space issue where there wasn't room for my wife of 8 years, but plenty of room for some guy Brianna had known for 2 weeks. Preston is a lovely young man. She said this like it mattered. Like Preston's personal qualities had any relevance to the situation. He could have been the most charming, successful, wonderful person on earth, and it still wouldn't justify excluding Hannah. I don't care if he's the Pope, he's a stranger. Hannah is family, or she's supposed to be. She is family, but sometimes we have to make difficult choices about accommodations. We didn't think you'd be so sensitive about it. Sensitive, got it. Well, here's me being insensitive. Pay your own property taxes from now on. I'm done subsidizing your retirement. I hung up before she could respond. Hannah overheard the conversation. She'd been in the kitchen pretending not to listen, but our apartment is small. You stopped paying their taxes because of Christmas, she asked quietly. I stopped paying their taxes because they treated you like garbage. Christmas was just when it became impossible to ignore. You didn't have to do that for me. I didn't do it for you. I did it for us. And because I'm tired of being their emergency fund while they treat me like an inconvenience. She didn't argue, just came over and hugged me. March arrived with increasingly desperate messages. The tax bill was now over $8,000 with penalties and interest. The county had officially placed a lien on the property. My parents were drowning in letters and notices. Brianna finally got involved, sending me this long text about family loyalty and how I was being cruel over a misunderstanding. When I asked if she'd be willing to help with the property taxes, she said her finances were really tight right now. Right. Too tight to help our parents, but loose enough for that weekend trip to Nashville she just posted about. I sent her the receipts. Every payment I'd made over 3 years, $42,000 in total. This is what I contributed to Mom and Dad's property taxes while you were making car payments on a luxury vehicle. You're welcome. She didn't respond. April brought the nuclear option. A letter from the county about a potential tax sale. If the delinquent taxes weren't paid within 90 days, the property would go to auction. Dad called from a different number. Probably borrowed someone's phone, I answered out of curiosity. Are you really going to let us lose our house? He asked. No greeting, no pleasantries. I'm not doing anything. The county is handling it according to standard procedures. You know what I mean? You have the money. You've been paying these taxes for years. Why stop now? Because I finally realized I was funding a retirement for people who don't actually value me or my wife. That's not true. We love you. Funny way of showing it. Uninviting us from Christmas. Never saying thank you for the $42,000 I've paid. Treating Hannah like she's optional while rolling out the red carpet for Brianna's temporary boyfriend. Preston is her boyfriend. What were we supposed to do, not invite him? You were supposed to not uninvite us. There was plenty of room. You chose to exclude us. Now I'm choosing to exclude myself from your financial problems. This is extortion. No, this is consequences. You wanted me to understand that Hannah and I are lower priority than a stranger. Message received. Now you get to understand that your financial crisis is lower priority than my wife's emotional well-being. The county doesn't care about family drama. They're just going to take our house. I know, that's kind of the point. They don't care about drama, they care about taxes. Just like I don't care about your excuses anymore. I care about my wife. He hung up on me. May came with more frantic calls that I ignored. My aunt called to lecture me about elder abuse and family responsibility. I reminded her that she and Uncle had taken the guest room, forcing my parents to invent a space crisis. She hung up too. The funny thing about standing your ground is how quickly people decide you're the villain, not the people who created the problem, the person who stopped fixing it. June arrived with the point of no return. The county scheduled the tax sale for July 15th. If my parents didn't come up with $10,000 by then, their house would be auctioned off. Tax sales in Missouri follow a specific process. The county publishes a list of properties with delinquent taxes in the local newspaper for 3 consecutive weeks. Real estate investors and speculators watch these lists carefully, looking for opportunities to buy properties for pennies on the dollar. Houses that families have lived in for years can get snatched up by strangers who see them as nothing more than investment opportunities. My parents' house would be on that list. Their address, their names, the amount owed, all published for anyone to see. Their neighbors would know, their friends would know, the whole small town would know that they'd let their property taxes go unpaid to the point where the county was taking action. The shame of it probably bothered my parents almost as much as the financial crisis. They'd spent their whole retirement building this image of comfortable middle-class stability. They joined the right social clubs, attended community events, made friends with other retirees who seemed to have their finances in order. Now, everyone would see the truth. They were broke and had been relying on their son to subsidize their lifestyle. My parents sold mom's jewelry, borrowed money from friends. Dad picked up a part-time job at the hardware store. Brianna finally contributed $1,000, which she made sure to announce publicly so everyone would know what a good daughter she was. The Facebook post Brianna made about her contribution was classic her. A long caption about the importance of family, how we all need to support each other in hard times, and how she was blessed to be able to help my parents in their time of need. She made it sound like she was the hero of the story, not someone contributing a fraction of what I'd already paid over the years. The comments were full of people praising her generosity and calling her an amazing daughter. Nobody knew the full story. They came up with $8,000, still $2,000 short. July 10th. 5 days before the sale, Mom called from yet another number. I answered because Hannah was sitting next to me. "Please," Mom said. She was crying. "I'm begging you. We're $2,000 short. We'll lose everything. Our house, our retirement, everything we worked for. You should have thought of that before Christmas. This is insane. You're going to let us become homeless over Christmas dinner." Not over dinner. Over 30 years of putting Brianna first, treating Hannah like she's disposable and taking me for granted. The Christmas thing was just the final straw. We've apologized. What more do you want? Have you? Because I don't remember getting an apology. I remember getting excuses and justifications and lectures about how I'm being unreasonable. Silence. She was cornered and knew it. "I'm sorry." She finally said we should have included Hannah. "It was wrong. Keep going. We took you for granted. Took your help for granted. We should have been more grateful for all you've done. And we prioritized Brianna over you. Made you feel less important." That wasn't right. Getting warmer. "What about Hannah specifically?" Long pause. "We treated Hannah poorly. Excluded her when she'd been nothing but kind to us. Made her feel like she wasn't really family." There it is. Was that so hard? "So you'll help us pay the last $2,000? No." What? But I apologized. You apologized because you're about to lose your house, not because you actually feel bad. That's not the same thing. We do feel bad. What do you want from us? I want you to experience the consequences of your choices. I want you to understand that actions have results. I want you to know what it feels like when family treats you like you're expendable. This is cruel maybe, but it's also fair. I hung up. Hannah was quiet for a minute. Then she asked, "Are you really going to let them lose their house?" "Yes, that's a lot, it is. But so was 3 years of $42,000 and 8 years of you being treated like a second-class family member." She thought about it. "What if we paid half $1,000 enough to help, but not enough to completely bail them out?" I looked at her. This woman who'd been excluded from Christmas was suggesting we throw my parents a lifeline. Why would we do that? Because I don't actually want them to be homeless. I want them to learn their lesson. But homelessness seems extreme. Plus, if they have to scramble for the last $1,000, they'll still feel the pressure. She had a point. The goal wasn't to destroy them. It was to make them understand consequences. "You're sure I'm sure." $1,000. Final offer, they cover the rest. July 14th. I sent a text to the family group. "Hannah and I will contribute $1,000 to the property taxes. You're responsible for the remaining $1,000. Payment must be received by the county by 4:00 p.m. tomorrow, or the offer expires." Mom called immediately. Thank you so much, but we don't have the other $1,000. We've exhausted every option." "Then I guess you'd better figure something out. You've got 24 hours. Where are we supposed to get $1,000 in one day, same place you got the $8,000 you already raised? Get creative, please. Can't you just cover the whole thing? For old time's sake, old time's sake. When you used $42,000 of my money and uninvited my wife from Christmas. Those old times." She went quiet, Srial. 24 hours, I repeated. Figure it out. I hung up and transferred $1,000 to the county with a note that it was partial payment toward my parents' delinquent taxes. The next 24 hours were chaos, according to my aunt, who later filled me in. My parents called everyone they knew begging for money. Tried to get a payday loan, but their credit was terrible. Dad worked a double shift at the hardware store and made $80. Brianna, in a rare moment of actually helping through another $500 toward the cause, still left them $400 short. At 2 p.m. on July 15th, 3 hours before the deadline, my parents were still scrambling. They'd sold Dad's golf clubs, Mom's rarely used exercise bike, and some furniture on Facebook Marketplace. They showed up at the county office at 3:47 p.m. with $10,000 in a combination of cash money orders and certified checks from 6 different sources. The clerk barely got it processed before the 400 deadline. Their house was saved. Barely. That evening I got a text from Dad. "We made it. No thanks to you." I responded, "You're welcome for the $1,000 and the $42,000 before that, and for the lesson in consequences." He didn't reply. August brought a cold war in my family. Nobody was talking to me, except for a few cousins who privately admitted I had a point. My parents were speaking to Hannah and me, but barely. Brianna posted a vague status about toxic family members who use money to manipulate people. The irony was perfect. September rolled around with my dad's birthday. Usually we'd visit, bring gifts, make a thing of it. This year, nothing. I sent a card, just a card, no money, no gift. It said, "Hope you have a good birthday. Glad you still have a house to celebrate it in." Passive-aggressive, absolutely, but cathartic. October brought the real surprise. Preston and Brianna broke up. Shocker. Turns out he was actually engaged to someone else and using Brianna as a side piece. The finance job was working the desk at a car rental place. The Porsche was leased and behind on payments. Brianna posted a long rant about men who lie in relationships that aren't what they seem. The comments were supportive. Everyone telling her she deserved better. I resisted the urge to comment. "Remember when Mom and Dad uninvited me from Christmas to impress this guy?" Hannah reminded me that would be cruel. She was right. Didn't stop me from thinking it, though. November arrived with an unexpected development. Mom called from her actual phone number. "I want to talk," she said. "Actually talk, not argue, not make excuses. Just listen and talk." Okay. We met at a diner halfway between our place and theirs. Just the two of us. She looked older than I remembered. More gray hair, more lines around her eyes. Stress will do that. I've been thinking about everything she started. Not just the property taxes, but all of it. How we treated you. How we treated Hannah. The Christmas thing especially. I didn't interrupt. Let her talk. "Your father and I got caught up in Brianna's drama. She's our baby. And she's had such a hard time with relationships. Every time she brings someone new around, we get excited that maybe this time will be different, that maybe she'll finally find someone good. So you excluded us to support her relationship. We thought it would help her feel supported. Preston seemed so nice on paper. Good job, well-dressed, polite. We wanted to show Brianna we approved by disapproving of Hannah." She winced. "It wasn't about Hannah. We love Hannah. Your actions said otherwise." She nodded slowly. "You're right. We acted like Hannah was optional, like she could just be uninvited, and it wouldn't matter because she's already secure in the family. But that's not how it works, is it? No. We took you for granted, too. You paid our property taxes for 3 years, and we treated it like it was just something you did, like it was your responsibility instead of an enormous gift. We never even really thanked you. Nope. And when you stopped helping instead of asking ourselves why, we just got angry, like you were failing some obligation instead of finally setting a boundary. She got it. Actually understood what happened. That was unexpected." "What changed?" I asked. "Almost losing our house changed a lot. But mostly it was your aunt saying something at a family gathering. She said we'd pushed away our reliable son because we were too busy chasing after our unstable daughter. That stung, but it was true. We sat in silence for a minute. "I'm sorry," she said. "Really sorry. Not because I want something from you, but because we hurt you and Hannah. You both deserved so much better." "Yeah, we did. I can't undo the Christmas thing. Can't take back the years of taking you for granted. But I want to try to do better going forward if you'll let us." I thought about it. Thought about Hannah and how she'd never asked me to cut my parents off just to stand up for her. Thought about how she'd suggested we contribute that last $1,000 even after everything. Here's the deal. I said, you want a relationship going forward? Great, but it's based on actual respect, not obligation. That means Hannah gets treated like a daughter, not a guest. That means no more financial assistance from us. You're adults. Figure out your own budget. And that means if you ever try to exclude us for one of Brianna's boyfriends again, we're done permanently. She nodded. That's fair. More than fair, honestly. And you owe Hannah an apology. A real one in person. I know. I'll call her this week. We finished our coffee and went our separate ways. I wasn't sure if this was a real turning point or just temporary guilt, but time would tell. When I got home, I told Hannah about the conversation. She listened carefully. Do you believe her? She asked. I want to, but people don't really change. They just get better at managing their worst impulses. So what do? We give them a chance. One chance. And if they screw it up, we walk away with no guilt. She agreed. Mom called Hannah 3 days later. They talked for over an hour. Hannah didn't tell me everything they discussed, but she said Mom cried and apologized and meant it. That was enough. December came around again. The Christmas question hung in the air for weeks. Finally, early in the month, Mom called. We'd love to have you both for Christmas this year if you're willing to come. No weird space issues, no boyfriend drama, just family. What about Brianna? I asked. Brianna will be there. She's processing everything, but she knows you and Hannah are coming and she's okay with it. And the guest room is yours. We already set it up. Hannah and I discussed it, decided to go, but with an escape plan. Booked a hotel room as backup in case things got weird. Christmas Day arrived. We drove to my parents' house with gifts and low expectations. Walked in to find Mom and Dad waiting at the door. Welcome, Mom said, hugging Hannah first. We're so glad you're here. The house was decorated normally, no shrine to Preston's memory. Brianna was there but subdued. She gave us both awkward hugs and mumbled something about being sorry. Dinner was fine, conversation stayed light. Nobody brought up property taxes or the tax sale or the whole mess from the previous year. Just normal family stuff. Dad's hardware store stories, Mom's book club drama, my work projects. The guest room had fresh sheets, towels, and a little basket of toiletries. The kind of touches that show someone actually thought about your comfort. After dinner, we were doing dishes when Dad pulled me aside. I know I was defensive before about the money, about all of it, but you were right. We took you for granted, used you like an ATM, and treated you like an obligation instead of our son. Yeah. Your mother and I adjusted our budget, cut back on things we didn't need. We can handle the property taxes ourselves now. You don't need to worry about that anymore. Good. And Hannah is welcome here anytime. I mean that. She's our daughter-in-law. Should have been treating her like that from the start. I appreciate you saying that. He clapped me on the shoulder and went back to his coffee. Not a Hollywood moment of reconciliation, but real enough. That night, lying in the guest room with Hannah, I thought about everything that had happened. The anger, the betrayal, the tax lien, the desperate scramble, all of it because my parents forgot that family isn't about obligations and hierarchies. It's about showing up for the people who show up for you. Think they learned their lesson, Hannah whispered. Time will tell, but at least they're trying. That's something. Yeah, it's something. We went back home the next morning. The drive was quiet but comfortable. No anger, no resentment, just peace. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Thank you for giving us another chance. We won't waste it, I responded. See you soon. And that was it. No dramatic ending, no perfect resolution, just a family that almost destroyed itself over property taxes and Christmas seating arrangements, then slowly found its way back to something resembling an actual functional family.